Hello and welcome to this live coverage marking the visit of His Holiness Pope Francis of the Vatican to the Kingdom of Bahrain at the invitation of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. I'm Sarah Lebrek.
Hello, I'm Gavin Esler, and for the last couple of days we've been covering the engagements of His Holiness the Pope, and shortly we'll be bringing you the Pope's meeting with around 800 young people of various religions at the Sacred Heart School. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
We have been covering the visits and activities of His Holiness the Pope in the Kingdom of Bahrain, which included meetings with His Majesty the King and participation in the closing session of the Bahrain Forum for Dialogue East and West for Human Coexistence at the Memorial Square of Sakhir Palace.
And we saw His Holiness take part in the Muslim Council of Elders meeting held here in Bahrain under its chairman, His Eminence Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayyib, where they spoke about ways to promote the united message of peace, harmony and coexistence.
His Holiness also visited Lady of Arabia Cathedral in Awali yesterday, where he attended an ecumenical meeting and prayer of peace with young Christians in Bahrain.
And this morning, Pope Francis presided over a public holy mass at the Bahrain National Stadium with tens of thousands of worshippers of all ages and many different backgrounds: infants, children, adults, the elderly and people with special needs. When the Pope talked of diversity, I think this is what he meant.
Absolutely. It was an astonishing, moving event under cloudless skies and music and the voices of church leaders and also ordinary worshippers from Bahrain and neighboring countries, many of them migrants from around the world. Our reporter Bara Abdullah was at the Holy Mass in the Bahrain National Stadium.
So I'm here at the Bahrain National Stadium as we're here with His Holiness Pope Francis leading the prayers right here in this historical time for the Kingdom of Bahrain, as we're here in coexistence and in peace. As you can see, tens of thousands of people are all here to do the prayers right here at the Bahrain National Stadium at the Kingdom of Bahrain.
I am a resident of Bahrain since 1977, almost 45 years now. I feel that I am home. That's why I'm staying here, and I've decided to retire in the kingdom here. I feel really I'm within my family. I love this country. I love the people who are very friendly and very sincere indeed and very modest and loving. This is a historical event today, really, that the Pope comes to Bahrain to conduct a mass invited by His Majesty the King, who is really beloved by all of us. I don't have doubt that this is an indelible historical event. We are all thankful to the King and to the government and to the people of Bahrain for their love and for sharing with us this unbelievable event, which will always be in our hearts.
Of course, we're delighted to be here on this beautiful occasion. We're sharing the happiness with our Christian, Catholic brothers and sisters that are delighted when you see the expressions on their faces. They're all delighted to be here. If anything, this proves that the culture of understanding, of tolerance, of love and acceptance is part of Bahrain, part of its people and of course part of its leadership.
It's a beautiful moment, to be honest. It's very humbling, and I really consider myself lucky to be here and be part of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
I had an amazing experience here. I came for the Mass with my family, and for me this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we are blessed to have such an opportunity here in the small, tiny little island of Bahrain.
Feels like home. I mean, obviously, thank His Highness Sheikh Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, Sheikh Salman, and the royal family, for making this possible. It's great to have, a religious figure like Pope Francis over here. And bless the people of Bahrain and bless all your hearts.
This visit from the Pope, with the cooperation of His Royalty the King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, was, to be honest, a very pleasant moment and a very kind moment from His Majesty. And from a part of the Christian community in Bahrain, I felt like this was the happiest moment of my stay here after 5 years. I felt like I was closer to the people in here, and I also felt like Bahrain was more and more of a home to me.
So I really enjoyed today. It was really well organized, and it was really interesting to see how the Pope prayed and everything. And I really liked Bahrain, and I liked the Pope for visiting. So thank you for that.
Today is a dream come true. It is impossible made possible, and many thanks to our King, King Hamad bin Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa, and all his ministers and the people of the Kingdom of Bahrain for bringing our Pope, taking care of him, giving him so much respect, and which joyful tears are coming from my eyes from today's service, yesterday's service, and one more to attend. So we're very thankful to this country, beautiful country, Bahrain, where I am living more than 60 years happily, ever after.
I come from a congregation, a religious congregation called the White Fathers, and I have come especially from Dublin for this historic event where Pope Francis came and met with the Bahraini people and met with religious leaders from all over the world to speak of peace and friendship and harmony and tolerance. And it is a great honor and privilege to be once more in Bahrain after, I think, the last time I visited this beautiful country was approximately 25 years ago. But I am so happy to be here today and to listen to the message of Pope Francis, where he is reaching out to all generations and all religious identities, speaking of peace and friendship and love.
Dear viewers, today has definitely been a historical day, as His Holiness Pope Francis today led the prayers right here at the Bahrain National Stadium with tens of thousands of people all together praying for peace, coexistence right here at the Oasis of Peace, the Kingdom of Bahrain, upon invitation by His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. All that took place right here at the Kingdom of Bahrain, the Oasis of Peace. Bara Abdallah, Bahrain International TV.
We are waiting for His Holiness to arrive at the Sacred Heart School. We are expecting that very shortly. But first, let's get some thoughts about what this visit means to those within Bahrain's very diverse Catholic community. We are delighted to be joined by Hadir Musa, who was at the Mass this morning, as well as Melody Carley. And we welcome back Associate Press Producer in United Nations headquarters in New York, Melody Carley. Thank you very much. Both of you were at the Mass today. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you very much.
First up, let's start off with you, Hadir. Being a Bahraini and within the Bahraini community and having grown up in Bahrain as a Catholic, tell us a bit about your experience at the Mass as well.
First off, like you said, I'm a Bahraini, so I was born in Bahrain, I was raised in Bahrain, and I had maybe the great opportunity of being raised both as a Bahraini in a Bahraini the community and in the Catholic Church. So I was part of the Sacred Heart Church since I was born. So it's kind of a unique experience, maybe in regards to the other Bahrainis in the country. But for me, I've never felt that I was any different. So whether it was in school or even when I was working, it was always, I was able to fit in with anyone. So yes, I'm Catholic or I'm Christian, and that's unique, but I was still able to be like everyone else around me, and it wasn't just something that stood out for me. In terms of the Mass, it was an extraordinary experience for me. It was a dream come true, honestly. It's an opportunity, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And I came from abroad specifically because the moment I heard that His Holiness Pope Francis was coming to Bahrain. I was like, I am not going to miss this. This is not going to happen again ever. And I don't know when I'm going to get to an opportunity to ever attend a Mass with His Holiness. So it was something that I seized, and it was worth it. It was worth the trip for me.
No, but there was something even more special.
Yes.
Come on, you've got to tell us this. Come on, about your son.
So
Tell
yeah,
us.
my son was luckily one of the kids that was blessed by the Pope. So the security took him. We were on the front row, and he was picked up by the security because the Pope asked to bless him, and that was an extraordinary moment for all of us. Honestly, like I just kept screaming because I didn't register that was actually happening. So yeah, that was something. So that's definitely made the whole trip worth it.
So just how old is he then?
He's 4.
So he's going to remember this for the next
Definitely.
70, 80 years,
Yes.
isn't he? And tell everybody about it.
Yes, and because everyone's talking about it, like, so the pictures are being shared all over social media and our family groups. So everyone keeps commenting about it, and he keeps watching the video over and over and over again, and he just can't get over it. He's like, this is me, this is me, this is... So yeah, for him it was also a very special experience.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
We have an outsider who actually witnessed this. Melody was just a couple of seats down. So tell me about the Mass and how you saw this whole interaction.
Well, the interaction in its own, and I will expand later on about the Mass as well, but the interaction, especially the meaning, behind picking up youth, picking up an infant, that is actually really in the arms of His Holiness, kind of summarizes the whole purpose of this visit, right? Supporting the youth, supporting peaceful coexistence. I think that was just a magical moment, and I was indeed a couple seats down, and I did see her son being picked up, so that was fantastic. Beyond that, the Mass was obviously a historical moment, unforgettable experience, and also the message was extremely strong. I think the one main message that was shared earlier today was on the topic of love. And love not only a loved one or someone that thinks similar or have similar beliefs as yours, but also love enemies. And this concept is very tricky, as we embark on opening dialogues and combating, hatred throughout the world. I think this is a very important concept.
I think the other thing that really struck me was we have talked a lot at the forum and elsewhere about diversity and about differences and so on and so on. We were seeing it, maybe for both of you, we were seeing it in action. The faces, the places people came from, I didn't know, but you could see there were people from the Philippines, South Asia, people from Bahrain, people from Europe. That was amazing.
Yes. And it was, I think, the experience of everyone praying together and saying the hymns together and listening to His Holiness's address together. That really brought, it was, I think, a shared, unique experience for everyone from many different regions and many different backgrounds and many different, even not necessarily Catholics, but many different as well, faiths as well.
Absolutely.
And I think we actually forgot about where we were for a moment in time. It was a pause in the moment, and personally, I barely, I forgot for a minute that we were in a Muslim region, Muslim country, because we were about, I believe, 30,000 attendees.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. For a minute in time, you just pause and you're just surrounded by love and by peace, really. And that was just amazing.
I was talking with Ms. Hadira before we went in the studio today, and I was watching on TV. I was at work, doing other work and everything, and the first thing that caught my attention was His Holiness the Pope. He seemed very engaged. He was very happy. He seemed excited. His face was just expressing how happy he was, smiling. He was asking for the children to come. There was like a certain point where there was one of the hymns that they were going to make sure he asked for it to read the whole document itself. And I just felt His Holiness, it was an experience for him as well, seeing these people in the Middle East and all of these people coming together. As you said, 30,000 people, if not more. I mean, were actually there and I mean, took the chance from, I think some of them started at 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m.
Yes.
They started moving.
Are you one of those?
I'm not.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Let's continue in a little bit. His Holiness Pope Francis is now arriving at the Sacred Heart School, where he will meet around 800 young people. The visit by Pope Francis is part of the kingdom's leadership role in seeking peace, peaceful coexistence across the world.
Well, the principal of Sacred Heart School, Rosalind Thomas, told us what we can expect. The choir will welcome the Pope in song. That will be followed by a dance highlighting the culture of Bahrain, and young people will be sharing testimonies of various kinds. Again, something the Pope wants to hear. A choir will lead to a speech by His Holiness Pope Francis addressing the audience of young people.
So, Ms. Hadir, you were actually a student at Sacred Heart. So what can you tell us about the preparations that you expect will be made ready?
Oh, I expect like they've been probably practicing for this day in and day out since they've heard of the visit of Pope Francis. As you all know, Sacred Heart is run by nuns, and it's a very discipline-focused school. Yes. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be very well organized, and everyone's going to know his role exactly. And it's actually making me very proud that, you know, the school that I was brought up in, I spent maybe 10 years or more, more than 10 years in that school. Beautiful. So seeing that one day the Pope is visiting that school is something to be very proud of.
Beautiful. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because what I was going through my head, for instance, when I heard the soloist, the beautiful soloist singing today, and the others, I thought, this is such a big moment. I mean, she was magnificent, her voice was beautiful, but I did think, what must be going on in her mind? Here she is with 30,000 people, His Holiness the Pope, you know, all these other dignitaries. I better not mess it up. And she didn't. It was brilliant, but
it was
the
brilliant.
stress might be.
It must be a stressful experience. And just to touch back on the school, you know, that His Holiness the Pope is going to visit. If I'm not mistaken, it's an important moment because it's also the school that is attached to the first church that was built in the Gulf. So that tells you a lot about Bahrain, their experience in open communication, you know, openness in understanding each other's and various religions. So
and educating the youth, as you said.
Exactly.
Yeah. From your experience, I mean, seeing how important is the fact that His Holiness is taking this time to go to the school specifically and meeting these young people. What will that change in their minds?
I think it's education is the primary pillar and the most important pillar in peacemaking and peace building. Why? Because I think if you instill the concept of peace in kindergarten or primary school, and you make the children understand that misunderstanding doesn't have to end in conflict, doesn't have to end up in hate, but can be resolved in good terms without you know, any sorts of force. I think that's an important concept, and that's something that they can carry on and understand. So the younger you teach the children how to collaborate, how to understand and value differences, can actually be an extremely valuable opportunity to empower the youth and make them understand the value of open dialogue.
We'll continue on this a little bit now. We can see some images from Sacred Heart School where they're preparing for the arrival of His Holiness the Pope.
I was struck, while we were waiting for His Holiness arriving, I was struck by something that the Grand Imam said yesterday, which the Pope could have said today, and in fact did say today, but in a different way. So what struck me about this is they are really all on the same page. The Grand Imam said, God wants us to be different. This is not an accident. He wants us to be different. And the Pope was saying, well, we've got a choice about that. You know, you can either be miserable about it, or you can embrace it and say this is why we're stronger as people. I thought that the fact the two of them are saying the same thing broadly is very important.
And I think it comes back to what we were trying to discuss yesterday, the two C's.
Ah, yes.
Right, very, you can agree to disagree, or you can decide to drink the salt water and be miserable, or you can just embrace differences and come together. So it was a very important moment.
Sacred Heart School is a Catholic school, but there's also the students there are from mixed religions, and I think that is a very, very important fact to focus on. There are Muslim schools, there are students, there are Hindu students, there are different religions mixed within the same school, and they teach Catholic curriculums as well as the Islamic curriculums. What can you tell us about that experience, being in a mixed school environment?
I think like Sacred Heart School is an example of how we can teach young children to coexist and to appreciate our differences, and at the same time live together and learn that we are all equal. Because in that school, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what your background is, everyone is treated the same. And they are very strict on that, in that they don't want anyone to, like, wherever you're coming from, you leave that at the door. And then once you're in school, everyone is equal. We treat each other with respect, and we treat each other as equals. And I think it's a very good way to kind of instill that in their students from a very young age, that everyone is the same. Even with our differences, we can still coexist, and we can still live together, and we can still respect each other and respect their differences.
I think we're being told now there could be as many as 2,000 students at
Wow.
the school today. We'll see. I mean, that's quite a crowd. He is a great crowd pleaser. That's a very interesting point. One thing I'd like is, because we're journalists, why don't more people know about this?
The role of media, I think, is crucial in sharing a historical moment. I mean, I have to tell you, I was shocked at the amount of press that came out internationally about Bahrain. Some of my friends, internationally speaking, do not know exactly where Bahrain is on the map because of the size of the country. And this is about to change. This is about to be a historical moment for Bahrain, and for open dialogue, and for peace, really, because this has really put Bahrain on the map, and that tells you the importance of media. It's the willingness, and it's the openness of media to really want to share the experience of what is happening within a country, for example, like Bahrain. A lot of people don't know about it, even though they have a tremendous experience in, peace building and peacemaking within the region, within the country. I mean, and so I think, a lot of work that has been done by His Majesty, like the Kingdom of Bahrain Declaration, is the best representation of what Bahrain, the Kingdom of Bahrain, is all about.
We were actually just talking about that, me and Gavin, like having His Holiness the Pope in two of his speeches specifically quote phrases from the Kingdom of Bahrain Declaration is a huge thing. This declaration is not only on the map, it is something officiated, something to follow. You have been there since the declaration came out, and you've seen, as a journalist yourself, how it grew in people's minds, how people started using it. Tell us a bit about that, His Holiness the Pope using it. What is the value of that?
It was just, I could not believe what I was hearing, to be honest with you, because it's really the realization of this is really happening. We have a concrete element of peace building and peacemaking and of peaceful coexistence, which is the Kingdom of Bahrain Declaration, which some people doubted at the beginning. It sounded way too obvious and very easy to think about, as we discussed yesterday, but yet someone had to write it and someone had to put it together, and the people who doubted it can no longer doubt it. The people who doubted the existence or the benefit to this declaration can no longer doubt it, because it is now a fact. His Holiness spoke about it, quoted from it many times. So I think, the kingdom and the community here is the reason why this declaration has been successful, because they are the living proof that living in harmony and peaceful coexistence is possible.
And it deals with harmony between all religions and people of no religion. I think that's one of the many interesting things about it. It covers everything, all of us, and that is real inclusivity, isn't it?
Yes, and I think, just to stress on one of the things that Melody was saying about the role of the media, a lot of people don't know about the coexistence or the tolerance that Bahrain enjoys unless they come and actually live in it. And this is why the experience of what people hear from the international media versus when they actually come here and they live and they actually start building a life here is totally different. And we can see that in that a number of families, they come here like many expats thinking they're going to live here for a year or two, save some money and then go back home. And they spend years and years. And one of them is actually my grandfather, who is here from the 50s. And then my mom and her brothers and sisters were born here, and then I was born here, and Bahrain is home to us because it's just so it is home. And this is the experience of so many different countries, so many different families from so many different backgrounds and so many different religions and countries. So you don't get that sense, or you don't understand what Bahrain is really about until you actually live in it, and until you actually start mingling with the Bahraini community and the schools and the churches, and you learn how to coexist with everyone else. And I think this is one of the things that actually His Holiness said in his homily today, that Bahrain is an example of how we can, how we were all together there from so many different backgrounds, despite our religion, our differences, we can still coexist together. So I think that was the whole point of...
I think it's very important because we've been talking a lot this week about the meaning of religion, the meaning of faith. And if it's just words, then you can see why many of the young people that we're also all talking about this week are not that bothered. But if it's a reality and they can say, well, actually, people in Bahrain have perhaps a better life than we have here because we focus too much on our differences, that is a message of reality rather than just people essentially preaching to you with nothing concrete to show for it.
Right, and it's not only a concept anymore, right?
Right,
Yesterday they talked about the fact that you can say you're tolerant, but just saying you're tolerant, and I hate to use this word by the way, but you know, saying it doesn't make it any better. You have to put your words into action. And the calling for action from His Holiness yesterday was of tremendous importance. And to go back to the question of media earlier, let's not talk about only traditional media, but the way, you know, this message was spread and this historical event was spread through social media, the importance of social media in helping developing, you know, the knowledge about Bahrain and what the kingdom has been doing to promote, you know, this cross-cultural and various faith is tremendous. I had friends from all over the world telling me, I want to know more about Bahrain. I want to travel to Bahrain. I want to know where is it exactly. Now I understand why you go, why you collaborate with the kingdom, because they are doing a tremendous job, and now it's actually a dream come true.
Definitely. Just before, we're now in the last minutes before His Holiness hopefully arrives, but one of the things that for me, I mean, now seeing the aftermath of the Pope, we're seeing a lot of social media platforms and even media platforms talking about his arrival and everything, but the Pope said the stark choice facing the global community was to row together or sail adrift and alone into an uncertain future. This is an inspiring and really essential advice. Should it be promoted by media platforms due to its importance? How do you view the choices they are choosing to promote?
Sure, I can start. I think, you know, this goes back to the concept of love and loving your enemies and understanding each other. If you want to work together, even with differences, this is what's going to take us far. And in the long run, this is what's going to matter for not only the international community, but for the region. I think, you know, building blocks of peace in the world is going to be a first step. Trying to build international peace seems very, you know, unreasonable at first, because there's a lot of steps to pass through first. But I think building blocks of peace within the region first, and then each region can build their own blocks of peace, then we can finally create international peace perhaps. But it doesn't come without challenge, and I think another important point today during the Holy Mass, I'm sure you recall that, was when it was mentioned that we're not here to be idealistic. You know, we're not asking for peace in the world tomorrow, but we need to be realistic, because with being realistic will come natural expectations of what is to, you know, what is to happen in the world for peace. So I'm sure you recall that moment.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and he was talking about how we need to be realistic, in that it's okay to have differences. It's okay to not like everyone around us. It's okay to not love everyone around us and not get along with everyone around us. But we need to work on that, and we need to understand that these differences are not a reason for us to actually hate each other. So there's a big difference between, you know, just kind of a disagreement and then complete hatred. And even if you do feel that hatred, you need to work towards a way through it to find a common ground despite how hard it is. So yes, His Holiness stressed on how hard the process is. It's not easy. We're not trying to live in an idealistic world where, you know, this is how we coexist and let's just live together. But no, despite our differences and despite any hardships that might come, we need to work through them little by little, like Melody was saying, like maybe region by region or block by block or conflict by conflict.
Absolutely. I mean, just hearing you say that, both of you say this and taking that into account is really important. His Holiness Pope Francis is now arriving at the Sacred Heart School, where the meeting with 2,000 young people will begin shortly. We can see images of that right now.
A very good evening and warm welcome to one and all. Holy Father, my heart is filled with gratitude for this privilege of seeing you face to face during your apostolic journey to the Kingdom of Bahrain and in particular to Sacred Heart School. All of us gathered here extend to you our most cordial welcome on this momentous occasion. Great are God's deeds and marvelous are his ways, that in his abundant goodness he has brought your holiness to us as an ambassador of peace, mercy, and goodwill. Your Holiness, you are the reason for our gathering here. We express our admiration and appreciation for your humble service, loving guidance, vision of peace and harmony, and the courageous steps taken in this direction. You are an agent of peace to the world and to all people of goodwill. Your efforts, together with those of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, to build a world of peace, to build bridges and roads to peaceful coexistence and religious freedom, are like the two sides of the same coin, which makes us realize that great minds think alike. Sacred Heart School is a miniature symbol of this peaceful coexistence and culture of care. We have students and staff hailing from 29 different nationalities, cultures, languages, and religious backgrounds. All live and grow here under the benign mantle of the Sacred Heart. Your presence here with us will surely raise awareness about our cultural diversity and shared beliefs, as well as our commitment to establish a vibrant and respectful society for present and future generations. This is the 74th year of the foundation of Sacred Heart School. In all these years, you have been its most treasured and most revered guest. May the sprawling premises of this institution always be open to all people of goodwill, bringing down the blessings of the Almighty to all who enter in it. Your Holiness, the smiling faces of our young people here who are present here today express their joy at seeing you in person. Your words will strengthen them to be hope of a bright future for our world, where they will be active citizens who will strive to make our world a better place. Finally, Holy Father, on behalf of the management and students of the only Catholic institution in the Kingdom of Bahrain, as well as the young people in various other institutes, we, the Sisters of the Apostolic Carmel, together with our Superior General, Sister Nirmalini, and all present here, I humbly and wholeheartedly bid you the warmest of welcomes. Your Holiness, we ask you now to grant us your blessings of peace.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the Almighty and All-Merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. May peace and blessings be upon you. Holy Father, dear sisters and distinguished guests, it is our utmost honor to have His Holiness Pope Francis blessing us with his presence today. Your Holiness, it's a great honor and privilege to welcome you to the Kingdom of Bahrain, the land of love, the land of unity, the land of dreams, and the land of peace. I'm Lieutenant Abdullah Atiyah, an alumnus of this prestigious institute, and I'm currently a serving member at the Bahrain Royal Guards. I grew up in a Muslim household and I studied in this school, a Catholic institute. While growing up, I faced many challenges in life. Waking up early, I used to do physical training before coming to school and continued it after school hours. I came across many people who doubted me and who thought I was just wasting my time, that I was not good enough. However, I made sure that I worked very hard to prove them wrong. Life made me understand that hard work, commitment, and sacrifice is required to become successful. In my 16-year sporting career, I've achieved success, I've received appreciation, medals, and I've even set a Guinness World Record. But I realize and most humbly accept that the medals and the trophies will eventually rust. It's the friendship and fraternity that will last forever. You can be a champion off the field, but what really matters is becoming a champion off the field. I must admit that experience has taught me that facing failure fearlessly is required to achieve any goal in life. Growing up in Bahrain and attending this prestigious academy, I had the opportunity to not just celebrate Eid, I also had the opportunity to celebrate Christmas, Diwali, Easter, and many other heartwarming feasts. During the time of festivities, all the people and students of different religions and backgrounds celebrated together. There was no discrimination if one participated in the other's happiness. Sacred Heart School has proved to be an excellent example of unity and respect for one another. As an adult, I have deployed on military operations that have brought me into contact with religions that I never knew existed. There are many religions present in the Kingdom of Bahrain, such as Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, and Judaism. All of these religions may not be followed by equal numbers of people, but they are all respected equally. This goes back to the noble principle of unity in diversity, as it is a key feature of our beautiful kingdom that binds everyone together to maintain peace and stability in the region. Unity in diversity is the main reason for the growth and development of our beautiful kingdom. We are fortunate and blessed to have a humble and kind-hearted king such as His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, who is the person at the center uniting all religions and nationalities here. We all remain together as Team Bahrain. I would like to conclude by citing the popular quote by Patrick Henry, "United we stand, divided we fall," which is so dear to our values and standards as citizens and residents of our beloved country. May God bless us all. Thank you very much, Your Holiness.
Your Holiness, thank you very much for being here with us today. I am Nevin Varghese Fernandez, and I'm 31 years old. On behalf of all the youth in this beautiful country, it gives me immense joy to welcome you to the Kingdom of Bahrain. I want to give glory to the Lord for choosing me to give witness to Him and helping me lead a good Christian life here in Bahrain. Growing up as a Catholic in Bahrain was risk-free and secure, as we are blessed to be living in a country that promotes and supports various religions. We were able to express our faith and have interfaith conversations with our friends very freely. I personally believe in expressing our faith in actions more than in words, because in seeing we believe more. Living as a Catholic in a predominantly Muslim country is very joyful as we are surrounded by people of faith who share the same values, and the Church has given us a good foundation that was essential before we went abroad for further studies. Growing up in the Church is all about family. My immediate family, relatives, and friends would all show up for First Communions, confirmations, birthdays, and holidays. Everyone looks to the youth for joy, energy, and encouragement. But being a young Catholic in today's world also requires a lot of prayer and sacrifice, as we can easily fall into temptation and be drawn to live a worldly life. The challenges of daily life can often clash with the values of the gospel. It is important, then, that we create good and healthy relationships in order to listen to others and respond in a healthy manner, and so bear witness to a church open to all. We know very well that many young people in the world live in more demanding situations than we do. We are grateful, then, that our church stands with us and that we have heroic examples of people risking their lives for the faith. Holy Father, your being amongst us gives us strength and encourages us in our Catholic identity. We want to be worthy children of your church under your guidance, and we are proud that we are able to practice our faith without fear. I'm incredibly happy that God has given me this unique opportunity to stand before the successor of the Apostle Peter to address you and also ask for your blessings upon all of us, so that the Almighty may grant us the grace to bring His love to the world and be a living example of His presence among His people. Thank you.
Good evening, Holy Father. It is a great privilege for me, Marina Mota, to stand here in the presence of Your Holiness, Pope Francis, Bishop of Rome and head of the Catholic Church. We are elated to have you here today and hope that the occasion of your visit will bring many blessings. Growing up, I was fortunate to be blessed with a wonderful family, a good home, and many talents from the Lord. The same could be said regarding my religion. I came from a devout Catholic family, and I was taught to draw close to and to become one with my community. I joined the lectors and choir ministry at our local parish, and words cannot express the transformation it brought about in me. Becoming a lectern has not only taught me how much enunciation matters, but also that the Lord's word is a story. Although this story ended with the book of Revelation, it continues to live on in our hearts through God's Holy Spirit. Becoming a chorister encouraged me in more ways than one. Singing hymns about God and His creation not only inspired special and holy moments among the congregation, but in my heart as well. Moreover, I was welcomed into a community that encouraged me, not only in following the ways of God, but also to discover who I am and what I can be in this world. However, adolescence stirred a change. Becoming a teenager involves entering a stage of life that brings about many unfamiliar experiences. In these moments, what we need the most is guidance. Never do we wish to walk alone, and never do we wish to feel left out. Some events, though, cannot be controlled, and they just happen. We can lose sight of our priorities and begin to indulge in a culture of indifference. We attempt to run away from our problems. We can begin to loathe ourselves as well as those around us, and even start to forget our own roots. But we have a choice, and I choose not to let my emotions control me, but rather use them to strengthen faith in myself, in the people and the world around us, as well as in God. Faith is unseen but felt. Faith is strength when we feel weak. Faith is hope when all seems lost. Believe in God and believe in yourself, and the rest will fall into place. Have faith in your own abilities. Work hard, and there is nothing you cannot accomplish. I'd like to conclude with a quote that deeply moved me. The greatest kindness one can render to others consists in leading them from error to truth. So, I wish for peace to all people of goodwill who are willing to guide those around them, as well as the youth of today who are following the right path, the path of God. Now, Holy Father, if you would allow me to, I'd like to ask you some questions. The first question is there any advice you can give us from your own personal experience as a teenager? The second question is, how can we effectively communicate with God through silent prayer? The third and last question, do you think our beliefs are strong enough to help us combat social issues such as anxiety, stress, bullying, and peer pressure? Thank you very much, Holy Father.
Cari amici, fratelli e sorelle, buongiorno. Vi ringrazio di essere qui da tante nazioni diverse e con tanto entusiasmo. Vorrei ringraziare Sor Rosalind per le parole di benvenuto che mi ha rivolto e per l'impegno in quale insieme a tanti altri porta avanti questa scuola del Sacro Cuore. E sono contento di aver visto nel Regno del Bahrain un luogo di incontro e di dialogo tra culture e credo diversi. E ora, guardando a voi, che non siete della stessa religione, non avete paura di stare insieme, penso che senza di voi questa convivenza delle differenze non sarebbe possibile. In un breve futuro, nella pasta del mondo siete voi il lievito buono, destinato a crescere, a superare tante barriere sociali e culturali e a promuovere germogli di fraternità e di novità. Siete voi giovani che, come inquieti viaggiatori aperti all'inedito, non temete di confrontarvi, di dialogare, di fare rumore e di mescolarvi con gli altri, diventando la base di una società amica e solidale. E questo, cari amici, è fondamentale nei contesti così complessi e plurali in cui viviamo. Far cadere certi steccati per inaugurare un mondo più a misura dell'uomo, più fraterno, anche se ciò significa affrontare numerose sfide. Su questo prendiamo spunto dalle vostre testimonianze e dai vostri interrogativi. Vorrei rivolgervi 3 piccoli inviti, non tanto per insegnarvi qualcosa, no, quanto per incoraggiarvi.
Dear friends, brothers and sisters, good evening. Thank you for being here from so many different countries and with such great enthusiasm. I would like to thank Sister Rosalind for her words of welcome and for the commitment with which, together with many others, she oversees the administration of Sacred Heart School. I am happy to have seen in the Kingdom of Bahrain a place of encounter and dialogue between different cultures and beliefs. As I look out at you, who are not all of the same religion and are not afraid of being together, I think that without you, this coexistence of differences would not be possible, and it would have no future. In the dough of the world, you are the good leaven destined to rise, to break down many social and cultural barriers, and to foster the growth of fraternity and innovation. You are the young people who, as restless travelers, open to the unexpected, are not afraid to exchange ideas with one another, to dialogue, to make some noise, and mingle among yourselves. And so you become the basis of a society marked by friendship and solidarity. Dear friends, this is something essential in the complex and varied situations in which we live. To tear down certain barriers in order to bring about a world that is people-oriented and more fraternal, even if this involves facing a number of challenges. In this regard, taking a cue from your testimonies and your questions, I would like to offer you 3 small invitations, not so much to teach, but to show concern and to support and encourage you.
Il primo invito, abbracciare la cultura della vita. Sor Rosalind ha usato questa espressione cultura della cura. Prendersi cura significa sviluppare un atteggiamento interiore di empatia, uno sguardo attento che ci porta fuori da noi stessi, una presenza gentile che vince l'indifferenza e ci spinge a interessarci degli altri. Questa è la svolta, questo è l'inizio della novità, l'antidoto contro un mondo chiuso che, impegnato di individualismo, divora i suoi figli, contro un mondo imprigionato dalla tristezza che genera indifferenza e solitudine. Mi permetto di dirvi quanto male fa lo spirito di tristezza, quanto male. Perché se non impariamo a prenderci cura di ciò che ci sta attorno, degli altri, della città, della società, di tutto il creato, finiamo per trascorrere la vita come chi corre, si affanna, fa tante cose, ma alla fine rimane triste e solo, perché non ha mai gustato fino in fondo la gioia dell'amicizia e della gratuità. E non ha dato al mondo quel tocco unico di bellezza che solo lui o lei e nessun altro poteva dare. Da cristiano penso a Gesù e vedo che il suo agire è sempre stato animato dalla cura. Ha curato le relazioni con tutti coloro che incontrava nelle case, nella città e lungo il cammino. Ha guardato negli occhi le persone. Ha prestato orecchio alle loro richieste di aiuto, si è fatto vicino e ha toccato con mano le loro ferite. Voi guardate le persone agli occhi? Gesù è entrato nella storia a dirci che l'Altissimo ha cura di noi, a ricordarci che stare dalla parte di Dio vuol dire prendersi cura di qualcuno e di qualcosa, specialmente dei più bisognosi.
My first invitation to embrace the culture of care. Sister Rosalind used that expression, culture of care. To care means to develop an inner attitude of empathy, an attentive gaze that takes us out of ourselves, a gentle presence that overcomes our lack of concern and makes us take an interest in other people. This is the turning point, the start of something new, the antidote to a world closed in on itself, rife with individualism, a world that devours its children, a world imprisoned by a kind of sadness that gives rise to indifference and solitude. And if you allow me to say, sadness creates much damage in the world. If we do not learn to take care of our surroundings, other people, our cities, our society, the environment, we will end up spending our lives like those people who are constantly in a hurry, running around doing many things at once, but in the end are sad because they have never really known the joy of friendship and generosity, nor have they given the world that unique dab of beauty that they alone and no one else were capable of giving. As a Christian, I think of Jesus, and I see that everything he did was inspired by care for others. He was concerned about relating to all whom he met, in their homes, in the towns, and along the wayside. He looked people in the eye, listened to their pleas for help, drew near to them, and touched their wounds. He entered into our human history in order to tell us that the Most High cares for us, to remind us that being on God's side involves caring for someone and something, especially for those who are in greatest need.
Amici, quanto è bello diventare cultori della cura, artisti delle relazioni, ma ciò richiede, come tutto nella vita, un allenamento costante. E allora non dimenticatevi di avere anzitutto cura di voi stessi, non tanto dall'esterno, ma dall'interno, dalla parte più nascosta e preziosa di voi. Qual è la vostra anima, il vostro cuore? E come si fa a curare il cuore? Provate ad ascoltarlo in silenzio, a ritagliare spazi per stare a contatto con la vostra interiorità, per sentire il dono che siete, per accogliere la vostra esistenza e non farvela sfuggire di mano. Non vi accada per favore non vi accada di essere turisti della vita, che la guardano solo dall'esterno, superficialmente. E nel silenzio, seguendo il ritmo del vostro cuore, parlate con Dio, parlate a Dio, raccontateli di voi stessi e anche di coloro che incontrate ogni giorno che Lui vi dona come compagni di viaggio. Portateli i volti, le situazioni liete e dolorose, perché non c'è preghiera senza relazioni, così come non c'è gioia senza amore.
Dear friends, how beautiful it is to care for others, to build relationships. Yet, like everything in life, this calls for constant training. So do not forget, first of all, to care for yourself. Not so much outside as inside, in the deepest and most precious part of yourselves. What part is that? It is your soul, your heart. And how can you take care for the heart? By trying to be silent and listen to it. Try to make time to keep in touch with what is going on inside of you, to appreciate the gift that you are, to take hold of your life and not let it slip through your fingers. Please, do not be tourists of life who only see it from the outside, who only see the surface of things. In silence, following the rhythm of your heart, talk to God. Talk to God. Tell Him about yourself and the people you meet each day, those He has given you as companions on your journey. Bring Him their faces, their joys and sorrows, for there is no prayer without relationships, just as there is no joy without love.
L'amore, voi lo sapete, non è una telenovela o un film romantico, no. Amare è avere a cuore l'altro, prendersi cura dell'altro, offrire il proprio tempo e i propri doni a chi ne ha bisogno, rischiare per fare della vita un dono che genera ulteriore vita. Rischiare. Amici, per favore, non dimenticatevi mai una cosa. Siete tutti, nessuno escluso, un tesoro unico e prezioso. Dunque non tenete la vita in cassaforte, per favore, pensando che sia meglio risparmiarsi e che il momento di spenderla non sia ancora venuto. Molti di voi sono qui di passaggio, per motivi lavorativi e spesso per un tempo determinato. Se però viviamo con la mentalità del turista, non cogliamo il momento presente e rischiamo di buttare via pezzi interi di vita. Che bello invece lasciare adesso una traccia buona nel cammino, prendendosi cura della comunità, dei compiagi di classe, del collegio, del lavoro, del creato. Ci fa bene chiedercelo. Ognuno si faccia la domanda. Che traccia sto lasciando ora, qui dove vivo, nel luogo dove la provvidenza mi ha messo?
And love, as you already know, is not a soap opera or a romantic film. To love is to take another person to heart, to care for others, to offer one's time and gifts to those in need, to take risks and make life a gift that generates even greater life. My friends, please never forget one thing. You are all, without exception, a treasure, a unique and precious treasure. So please, do not lock your life in a safe, thinking that it is better to save that treasure, that the time to spend it has not yet come. Many of you are passing through here because of work, often for a particular period of time. Yet if we live with that tourist mentality, we miss the present moment and risk throwing away whole pieces of our life. How beautiful it is, on the other hand, to make a positive mark on our journey even now, by caring for our community, our classmates, our co-workers, and for the world around us. We do well then to ask ourselves, and each person needs to ask this question: What mark am I leaving now, here where I live, in this place where providence has brought me?
Questo è il primo invito, la cultura della cura. Se la abbracciamo, contribuiamo a far crescere il seme della fraternità. Ed ecco il secondo invito che vorrei rivolgervi. Seminare fraternità. Primo invito, cultura della cura. Secondo invito, seminare fraternità. Mi è piaciuto quello che tu hai detto, Abdullah. Bisogna essere campioni non solo nei campi di gioco, ma nella vita. Campioni fuori campo. È vero, siate campioni di fraternità fuori campo. Questa è la sfida di oggi per vincere domani. Questa è la sfida delle nostre società, sempre più globalizzate e multiculturali. Vedete, tutti gli strumenti e la tecnologia che la modernità ci offre non bastano a rendere il mondo pacifico e fraterno. Lo stiamo vedendo, i venti di guerra infatti non si placano con il progresso tecnico. Constatiamo con tristezza che in molte regioni le tensioni e le minacce aumentano e a volte divampano nei conflitti. Ma ciò spesso accade perché non si lavora sul cuore, perché ci lasciano dilatare le distanze nei riguardi degli altri. E così le differenze etniche, culturali, religiose e di altro genere diventano problemi, paure che isolano, anziché opportunità per crescere insieme. E quanto sembrano più forti della fraternità che ci lega, si rischia lo scontro.
This then is my first invitation, to embrace the culture of care. If we embrace it, we will help make the seed of fraternity grow. And this is my second invitation, to spread fraternity. I like what you said, Abdullah. You have to be a champion not only on the playing field, but in life. Champions off the field. That is true. So strive to be champions of fraternity off the field. This is the challenge of today that will make us winners tomorrow. The challenge faced by our increasingly globalized and multicultural societies. For you see, the devices and technology that modernity offers us are not enough to make our world peaceful and fraternal. The winds of war do not stop blowing with technological progress. We are seeing now with sorrow that in many regions, tensions and threats are increasing and at times are breaking out in conflicts. Often enough, this happens because we do not work on the heart. We allow distances between ourselves and others to increase, and as a result, ethnic, cultural, religious, and other differences become problems and fears that isolate rather than opportunities to grow together. And when those differences seem more powerful than the fraternity that keeps us together, we risk confrontation and conflict.
A voi, giovani, che siete più diretti e più capaci nel generare contatti e amicizie, superando i pregiudizi e gli steccati ideologici, vorrei dire, siate seminatori di fraternità e sarete raccoglitori di futuro, perché il mondo avrà futuro solo nella fraternità. È un invito che trovo al cuore della mia fede, che infatti, dice la Bibbia, non ama il proprio fratello che vede, non può amare Dio che non vede. E questo è il comandamento che abbiamo da Lui. Chi ama Dio, ami anche il suo fratello. Sì, Gesù chiede di non slegare mai l'amore per Dio da quello per il prossimo, facendoci noi stessi prossimi di tutti. Di tutti, non solo di chi ci sta simpatico. Vivere da fratelli e sorelle è la vocazione universale affidata a ogni creatura. E voi giovani, soprattutto voi, davanti alla tendenza dominante di restare indifferenti e mostrarsi insofferenti agli altri, addirittura di avallare guerre e conflitti, siete chiamati voi a reagire con un nuovo sogno di fraternità e di amicizia sociali che non si limiti alle parole. Le parole non bastano, c'è bisogno di gesti concreti portati avanti nel quotidiano.
To you, young people, who are more straightforward and more capable of making contacts and building friendships, overcoming prejudices and ideological barriers, I would like to say this: continue to sow the seeds of fraternity, and you will be builders of the future, because only in fraternity will our world have a future. This invitation is one that I find at the heart of my faith. Indeed, the Bible says, "Those who do not love a brother or sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen." The commandment we have from him is this, that those who love God must love their brothers and sisters also. Yes, Jesus tells us never to separate the love of God from love of neighbor, and to become neighbors to everyone. Everyone, not just the people we like. To live as brothers and sisters is the universal vocation entrusted to every creature. You, young people, you more than anyone else, in the face of the prevailing tendency to remain indifferent and intolerant of others, even supporting wars and conflicts, are called to respond with a new vision of fraternity and social friendship that will not remain at the level of words. Words are not enough. There is need for concrete gestures carried out on a daily basis.
Poniamoci anche qui alcune domande. Io sono aperto agli altri? Sono amico, amica di qualche persona che non rientra nel mio giro di interessi, che ha credo e usanze diverse di me? Io cerco l'incontro o resto sulle mie? La strada è quella che in poche parole ci ha detto Nevin. Creare buone relazioni con tutti. In voi giovani è vivo il desiderio di viaggiare, conoscere nuove terre, superare i confini dei soliti posti. Vorrei dirvi, sappiate viaggiare anche dentro di voi, allargare le frontiere interiori perché cadano i pregiudizi sugli altri, si restringa lo spazio della diffidenza, si abbattano i recinti della paura, germogli l'amicizia fraterna. Anche qui lasciatevi aiutare dalla preghiera che allarga il cuore e aprendoci all'incontro con Dio ci aiuta a vedere che in chi incontriamo un fratello e una sorella. A questo proposito sono belle le parole di un profeta che dice: forse non ci ha creato un unico Dio, perché dunque agire con perfidia l'uno contro l'altro? Società come questa, con una notevole ricchezza di credo, tradizioni e lingue diverse, possono diventare palestre di fraternità. Qui siamo alle porte del grande e multiforme continente asiatico, che un teologo ha definito un continente di lingue. Sappiate armonizzare nell'unica lingua, la lingua dell'amore, da veri campioni di fraternità.
Here too we can ask ourselves a few questions. Am I open to others? Am I friends with someone who does not share all my interests or who has different beliefs and customs from mine? Do I try to meet others or do I stick to the people I know? The key in a few words is what Nevin told us, to create good relationships with everyone. You young people are eager to travel and learn about new lands, to go beyond your usual surroundings. I would say this: learn how to travel within yourselves as well, to expand your inner borders so that prejudices against others can vanish, margins of distrust can narrow, fences of fear can be torn down, and fraternity and friendship can blossom. Let yourselves be helped by prayer, for prayer opens the heart, enabling us to encounter God and to see a brother or sister in everyone we meet. How beautiful, then, are the words of the prophet who said, "Has not one God created us? Why then are we faithless to one another?" Societies like this, which are remarkably rich in various creeds, traditions, and languages, can become training grounds for fraternity. We are standing at the gates of the great and multiform continent of Asia, which one theologian has called a continent of many languages. Learn how to blend those tongues in the one language of love as true champions of fraternity.
Ancora un terzo invito vorrei farvi. Ricordate il primo era la cultura della cura, primo invito. Secondo invito, seminario e fraternità. Adesso il terzo invito riguarda la sfida di fare delle scelte nella vita. Lo sapete bene, dall'esperienza di ogni giorno, non esiste una vita senza sfide da affrontare. E sempre di fronte a una sfida, come davanti a un bivio, bisogna scegliere, mettersi in gioco, rischiare, decidere. Ma questo richiede una buona strategia. Non si può improvvisare vivendo solo di istinto o solo all'istante, no. E come si fa a prepararsi ad allenare la capacità di scegliere, la creatività? Come si fa a prepararsi ad allenare il coraggio e la tenacia? Come affinare lo sguardo interiore, imparare a giudicare le situazioni, a cogliere l'essenziale? Si tratta di crescere nell'arte di orientarsi nelle scelte, di prendere le giuste direzioni. Per questo il terzo invito è fare delle scelte nella vita, scelte giuste. Tutto questo mi è venuto in mente ripensando alle domande di Merina. Sono interrogativi che esprimono il proprio bisogno di capire la direzione da prendere nella vita. È coraggiosa questa, come ha detto le cose. E posso dirvi la mia esperienza. Io ero un adolescente come voi, come tutti, e la mia vita era la vita normale di un ragazzo. L'adolescenza, lo sappiamo, è un cammino, è una fase di crescita, un periodo in cui ci affacciamo alla vita nei suoi aspetti e volte contraddittori, affrontando per la prima volta certe sfide. Ebbene, il mio consiglio qual è? Andare avanti senza paura e mai da soli. Due cose, andare avanti senza paura e mai da soli. State attenti, Andare avanti senza paura e andare avanti mai da soli. Dio non vi lascia soli, ma per darvi una mano attende che gliela chiediate. Egli ci accompagna e ci guida, non con prodigi e miracoli, ma parlando delicatamente attraverso i nostri pensieri, i nostri sentimenti, i nostri professori, i nostri amici, i nostri genitori, con tutta la gente che voglia aiutarci.
I would like also to offer you yet a third invitation. Accept the challenge of making decisions in life. The first was to embrace the culture of care. The second was to spread fraternity. You know from everyday experience there is no such thing as a life without challenges. Just as when you come to a fork in the road, you have to choose. So when faced with a challenge, you always have to put yourself on the line, take risks, and make a decision. This requires good planning. You cannot improvise, living by instinct, or always acting on the spur of the moment. So how do you prepare? How do you develop your decision-making ability, your creativity, your courage, and your tenacity? How do you sharpen your inner gaze, learn to judge situations, and grasp what is important. It requires learning how to weigh your options and take the right direction, hence the third invitation. All of this came to mind as I thought back to Marina's questions. She's very courageous. They were really about the need to understand what direction to take in life. I can speak from my own experience. I too was an adolescent like yourselves, like everyone else, and my life was that of a normal young person. As we know, adolescence is a process, that period in our growth when we begin to face the complexity of life and confront certain challenges for the first time. Well, my advice is to press forward without fear, but never go it alone. Press forward, but never go it alone. God never leaves you alone. He waits for you to ask him to give you a hand. He accompanies you and guides us, not by powerful signs and miracles, but by speaking gently through our thoughts and feelings, together with the help we receive from our teachers, from our parents, and from our guides and those that we have in our life.
Bisogna allora imparare a distinguere la sua voce, la voce di Dio che ci parla. E come impariamo questo? Come ci dicevi tu, Marina, attraverso la preghiera silenziosa, il dialogo intimo con Lui, custodendo nel cuore quello che ci fa bene e ci dà pace. La pace è un segnale della presenza di Dio. Questa luce di Dio illumina il labirinto di pensieri, emozioni, sentimenti in cui spesso ci muoviamo. Il Signore desidera rischiare la vostra intelligenza, i vostri pensieri più intimi, le aspirazioni che portate nel cuore, i giudizi che maturano dentro di voi. Vuole aiutarvi a distinguere ciò che è essenziale da ciò che è superfluo, ciò che è buono da ciò che fa male a voi e ad altri, ciò che è giusto da ciò che genera ingiustizia e disordine. A Dio nulla è estraneo di quanto accade a noi, è nulla. Ma spesso siamo noi a estraniarci di Lui, a non affidargli le persone e le situazioni, a chiuderci nel timore e nella vergogna. No, nutriamo nella preghiera la certezza consolante che il Signore veglia su di noi, che non prende sonno ma ci guarda e ci custodisce sempre. Amici, giovani, l'avventura delle scelte non va portata avanti da soli. Permettetemi perciò di dirvi un'ultima cosa, è l'ultima. Cercate sempre prima dei suggerimenti in internet, cercate dei buoni consiglieri nella vita, persone sagge e affidabili che possano orientarvi e aiutarvi. Prima questo. Penso ai genitori, agli insegnanti, ma anche agli anziani, ai nonni e a un bravo accompagnatore spirituale, uno che ci accompagna. Ognuno di noi ha bisogno di essere accompagnato nella strada della vita. Ripeto quello che vi ho detto, mai soli, mai soli. Abbiamo bisogno di essere accompagnati nella strada della vita.
It is important then to learn how to distinguish his voice. How? As you told us, Marina, through silent prayer and intimate dialogue with him, treasuring in our hearts what helps us and gives us peace. Peace is a sign of the presence of God. God's light illumines the maze of thoughts, emotions, and feelings in which we often find ourselves. The Lord wants to enlighten your understanding, your inmost thoughts, the aspirations in your heart, and the judgments that are taking shape within you. He wants to help you distinguish what is essential from what is superfluous, what is good from what is harmful to you and to others, what is just from what leads to injustice and disorder. Nothing we experience is foreign to God. Often, we are the ones who turn away from him. We fail to turn people and situations over to him, and instead, turn in on ourselves in fear and shame. Let us cultivate in prayer the consoling certainty that the Lord watches over us, that he does not grow tired, but constantly watches out for us and keeps us safe. Friends, young people, making decisions is not something we do alone. So let me say one last thing to you, and this will be the last thing. Before you go to the internet for advice, always seek out good counselors in life, wise and reliable people who can guide and help you. I am thinking of parents and teachers, but also of the elderly, your grandparents, and a good spiritual guide. Each of us needs to be accompanied on the road of life. And I say it again, we do not go through life on our own. We always need to be accompanied by other people.
Cari giovani, abbiamo bisogno di voi. Abbiamo bisogno della vostra creatività, dei vostri sogni e del vostro coraggio, della vostra simpatia, dei vostri sorrisi, della vostra gioia contagiosa e anche di quel pizzico di follia che voi sapete portare in ogni situazione e che aiuta a uscire dal torpore delle abitudini e degli schemi ripetitivi in cui a volte incaselliamo noi la vita. Da Papa voglio dirvi, la Chiesa è con voi e ha tanto bisogno di voi. Ha tanto bisogno di ciascuno di voi per ringiovenire, esplorare nuovi sentieri, sperimentare nuovi linguaggi, diventare più gioiosa e ospedale. Non perdete mai il coraggio di sognare e di vivere in grande, alla grande, in grande. Fate vostra la cultura della cura e diffondetela, diventate campioni di fraternità, affrontate le sfide della vita lasciandovi orientare dalla creatività fedele di Dio e da buoni consiglieri. E da ultimo, ricordatevi di me nelle vostre preghiere. Io farò altrettanto per voi, portandovi nel cuore. Grazie. God bless you. Allah ma'akum.
Dear young people, we need you. We need your creativity. We need your dreams and your courage, your charm and your smiles, your contagious joy, and that touch of craziness that you can bring to every situation, which helps to break us out of our stale habits and ways of looking at things. As Pope, I want to tell you, the Church is with you and needs each one of you very much, so that we can be renewed, explore new paths, experiment with new languages, and become more joyful and hospitable. Never lose the courage to dream big and to live life to the full. Adopt the culture of care and spread it. Become champions of fraternity. Face life's challenges by letting yourselves be guided by God's faithful creativity and by good counselors. And lastly, please remember me in your prayers. I will do the same for you, carrying you in my heart. Thank you.
يا رب العالمين، ندعوك يا الله من أجل السلام والوئام في هذا العالم. اجعل قلوبنا مليئة بالحب والسلام على هذه الأرض. دع نعمتك تسود هذا العالم، لا يعرف كل إنسان السلام الحقيقي من خلال رحمتك الواسعة.
Heavenly Father, we pray for all the young people of our country, Bahrain, those of the neighboring GCC states, and the world's youth. Turn your loving gaze upon us as we carry in our hearts a great hope that we can build a future of peace and justice.
Père Tout-Puissant, nous te prions pour tous les éducateurs, parents et aînés. Puisse-t-il éclairer les esprits et les cœurs des jeunes pour apporter la lumière là où il y a les ténèbres, l'amour là où il y a la haine et la paix là où il y a les conflits. Puisse-t-il être inspiré à travailler avec diligence pour la vérité et la justice et contribuer ainsi au bien-être de tous.
हे प्रभु, हम कलाकारों और संस्कृति की दुनिया से जुड़े लोगों के लिए प्रार्थना करते हैं। अपने सत्य के प्रकाश को कला, संगीत और साहित्य के क्षेत्रों में चमकने दे, ताकि आज की युवा पीढ़ी को विकास और आपसी समझ का अवसर मिल सके।
आदरदेवीप्याननि अन्तर्जालयः समाजमाध्य भाविताकरणशीलिदना उदसा अपि याज्ञाकरमु वर्तमानलोके तुल संगवी अति भयानक दे तुलिन ओवुन आरक्षा करन्न तवद मद्रव्य उगुलट हसवी सिटिन्नान हा असाधारण्य तलाक्पुवान Bera gatamanava, mema pudgalayan, main mudavagana, yahapat marge te penvana pudgalayan, siludana ashirvada karana.
Aming Ama, idinadalangin po namin ang lahat na nagtitipon dito na yon. Hipuin po ninyo ang aming mga puso upang mahalin at paglingkuran ka. Mahigpit ang aming pagkapit sa inyo bilang tunay naming kaibigan. Ibuhos mo po ang kapayapaan sa amin. Tulungan mo po kaming malampasan ang mga kahirapan na darating sa buhay. Bigyan mo kami ng lakas ng loob na mapagsubok at patuloy na magkaroon ang bawat isa ng kagalakan ng pamumuhay na may pagkakaisa.
May God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. With peace.
Thanks be to God.
Only for the dancers, those who have done the dancing. Dancers all gone? Okay, the dancer. Girls, you want to take a photo? You're doing a photo if you want. A photo. You want to do a photo? The dancer outside. Outside. You have to go outside and, for the group picture if you want to be in the picture. Outside. Yeah? Okay? For all the dancers.
His Holiness the Pope's meeting with the youth at the Sacred Heart School, where he addressed around, we think, about 2,000 young people of various religions, and they looked extremely happy.
Yes, they did. His Holiness the Pope affirmed that the youth are the backbone of a community, as they are the promising dreamers possessing incredible potential that could be transformed into a tangible accomplishment. We saw the excitement of the school staff, students, and everyone to meet the Pope.
Hadir, it was your old school. How do you feel about that?
It's amazing, like seeing the hall where we used to gather for assembly every week, and seeing the Pope in there, and you know, it's honestly something I never thought I would see. So it's good that I got to live the moment. So.
Okay, I think we're going to close the program now. So
just
thank you.
Just before the last words, Melody. I mean, seeing that from a journalist perspective and that kind of coverage, what do you think?
I think it really encompasses everything that we've seen for the past few days, and it's a beautiful conclusion to you know, the work of His Majesty and the work of the Kingdom of Bahrain in general and its citizens and their welcoming hearts and all the hard work that has been put in promoting youth and education.
Absolutely.
We've seen a lot of leadership over the past few days, haven't we? Because for 3 days we have been covering the engagements of His Holiness the Pope, which has today included a public Holy Mass at the National Stadium where tens of thousands attended.
We also just watched His Holiness the Pope's meeting with around 2,000 young people of various religions at the Sacred Heart School, and this brings us to the end of our live coverage for today. But tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. where we will be broadcasting live His Holiness's visit to the Sacred Heart Church in Manama.
Yes, and we will also bring you tomorrow the departure ceremony of His Holiness Pope Francis from the Kingdom of Bahrain, where His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa will be bidding him farewell.
This brings us again to the end, and we'd like to thank our guests for being with us today. And we'd like to thank you for watching, and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Goodbye.